over 1,185 days, 1,777 acres, and thousands of farmers from 13 villages. We are here in Freedom Park in Bengaluru, where farmers from Devanahalli taluk have been waging what is possibly one of Karnataka's longest running protests. In over 3.5 years, they have staged dharnas, day and night sit-ins, day-long fasts, submitted memorandums, and much more. The one thing that they have not done is give up. Give up on the fight for their land and livelihood, which is being acquired by the Karnataka government for industrial development. Let's speak to these farmers, farmers' leaders, and many other organizations that have joined this broad-based struggle. Namaskara, welcome to Decode Karnataka. I'm Nalme Nachiyar. Over the course of the last 3 years, a quiet resistance has snowballed into a massive agitation in Karnataka. The Karnataka Industrial Area Development Board, KIADB, has been seeking to acquire land spread across 13 villages in Devanahalli taluk, where it is proposed to build a defence and aerospace park. But why are farmers protesting? Because most of these are fertile agricultural lands where food grains, vegetables, fruits and flowers are grown alongside activities like dairy farming, sericulture and animal husbandry. While a 2022 KIADB survey had shown that 80% of farmers did not want to part with their land, an earlier CAG performance audit report had exposed serious irregularities in KIADB's land acquisition and allotment processes. The protesters are also unhappy with Mr. Sidramaiah, who had made a pre-poll promise of shelving the land acquisition but has not kept his word after assuming power. On July 4th, CM Sidramaiah met farmers and local leaders at Vidhan Sauda. However, the talks remain inconclusive, with the government seeking another 10 days' time to examine legal issues. Is there a way out of this deadlock for the government and the farmers? Let's speak to Prakash Kammaradi, an agricultural economist and former chairman of Karnataka Agricultural Prices Commission, and B.S. Satish Kumar, Deputy Chief of Bureau of the Hindu Karnataka. Prakash sir, Satish sir, thank you for joining us today and welcome to the show. Satish sir, I'll begin with you. So you were very recently, you'd gone to Devanahalli taluk and the Chandraipatna Hobli. You had met the farmers there. You were there for a ground visit, and you got to hear first-hand accounts from farmers and landholders there in the region. So from your conversations, why are farmers and other big and small landholders unwilling to give up their land? This protracted fight that they've been waging, why is it happening? What are their concerns and anxieties?
Nalme, I could see that there are multiple reasons for this. One main reason is, they have gone by the previous examples. Sometime back, there was the first phase when large tracts of lands were acquired.
Right.
In that, I met some of the farmers who have lost their lands in the first phase of the project. They have a horrible experience. At that time, maybe sometime around 2016 to 18, one farmer told me, the going price of the land there was something like 60 to 70 lakh. The government offered them 1 crore 10 lakhs. They were all more than willing to give up their lands.
Correct.
But later they realized by the time they got their money, the land value had more than doubled.
Oh, okay.
So there was a devaluation of land. And second, there were multiple claimants. For most of the farmers, the titles are not clean. There are multiple claimants. There will be family kind of settlements, but they are not registered.
Okay.
In terms of property. So multiple claimants came. So the number of claimants increased, the amount of compensation decreased.
Okay.
And now the land value will sharply increase as soon as a new project comes there. Now this farmer, one particular farmer whom I met, wanted to invest this money on some other land.
Okay.
But later he realized that it's of nothing because the land value touched a level of something like 2 crores, 3 crores, like that.
Okay.
The land which he lost, now it is going at a rate of more than 4 crores, according to him. In fact, the irony is he has become a land laborer. Once he was a laborer. He works in others' fields. Earlier, he was a landlord. See, this kind of sociological changes, the change in what we call your prestige, social dignity, this affects farmers. Most of the farmers are scared of these things, and they are not good money managers.
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏರ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ 4-5 ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಕ್ವಿಸಿಷನ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. 4-5 ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಕ್ವಿಸಿಷನ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋರ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪಕ್ಕದ ಬಾಳೆಪುರ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೆ ಹಂಗ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮನೆ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅವರು ಮಾಡಕ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಮನೆ ಯಾರು ದುಡ್ಡು ಬಂತಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಮನೆ ಕಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವರು ಮಾಡಕ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಇಲ್ದೇನೆ ಈ ತರದೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದೀವಿ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಈ ದುಡ್ಡು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಸ್ಪಿಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು ನೋಡಿದೀವಿ, ಹೊಡೆದೋಗಿರೋದು ನೋಡಿದೀವಿ, ಈ ತರದಲ್ಲ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಒಬ್ರಿಗೊಬ್ರು ಕೇಸ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ದಾಯರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಕೇಸ್ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ಒಬ್ರಿಗೊಬ್ರು ಆ ತರದೆಲ್ಲ ಸುಮಾರು ನೋಡಿದೀವಿ.
And second thing, there's a cultural shock also. Like unlike us, they cannot go to some new place and start living afresh, you know.
Yeah.
They cannot come to city. They are used to living in those areas for centuries, like in the sense 5-6 generations have lived there. So they cannot give up that place and go elsewhere. And second, you know, like unlike other areas in the state, this is a kind of place where land is very fertile and even weather conditions, climate is very good. You know? And they are growing multiple crops there. The farmers, most of the farmers are innovative.
Yeah.
You know, they grow multiple crops, especially horticultural crops, cash crops, like vegetables they grow, flowers they grow, you know, these kinds of crops. And also animal husbandry is also doing very well there.
Right,
like
correct.
the rear
Yes, yes.
sheep, every day they supply milk, you know. And another advantage for them is their proximity to Bengaluru. You know, lot of companies which are into digital marketing have set up their procurement centers there. You know,
Okay.
they give them remunerative prices. I could make out that most of the farmers are getting upwards of 2 lakh per acre per year net income. You know, that's why they are comfortable there. So they are scared that their livelihood will be lost. Now they equate land with their life.
ನಾವು ಜಮೀನು ಮಾತ್ರ KIADB ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ತಾತನವ್ರ ಕಾಲದಿಂದ ನಾವು ಜಮೀನೇ ಅವಲಂಬಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದಿರೋದು. ಈಗೂ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನೇ ಅವಲಂಬಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ತೀವಿ.
ಪ್ರತಿ ದಿವಸ ಬರ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಧರಣ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ? ಎಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತೀರಾ?
ನಾವು 8-9 ಮಂದಿ ತಿರುಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. 2 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ
ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಒಬ್ರು ಇಲ್ಲಿದ್ದ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ? ಎಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷದ? 2 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದನೂ ಹೀಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
ಡೈಲಿ.
So let me come to you because there was a meeting with farmers that happened between farmers, activists, local leaders and CM Siddaramaiah, who then sought 10 days time
up to 15th of this month.
Up to 15th of this month to take a final decision on the issue, because he said they want to seek legal expertise and advice. And you have been involved with this fight very intimately, very deeply.
As an academician.
Yes.
Concerned academician.
Yes. So from that viewpoint, and in your experience, for a fight like this, for a conflict like this, is there an amicable solution? Is there a workaround? Can the farmers of Devanahalli taluk, expect some kind of an amicable solution?
See, land is a natural resource, most precious natural resource. The conflict resolution is a challenge in any such settlement. And interestingly, more crucially, it is a conflict is between the government and the farmers. So it's a good thing, though both sides has gone too far. The farmers are on war path, unheard anywhere in the history. A farmers resisting for more than 3 years.
Right.
Yes. Not one farmer, 2 farmers from the 13 villages. On the other hand, government had not only planned to acquire and it notified that in fact.
Right.
So under such a situation, it is a challenge to a democratic process. A sensible government should look into this issue little more carefully. Okay. Because on either side, farmers are not in the position. As he rightly said, it's a question of their past experience also speaks volume about what happened.
Right.
Once you lose land, a source of livelihood. Cultural alienation is something in a very, 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 that only lure I can say, lust is that the value of the land, 1 crore. Okay. But that too, as he rightly pointed out, is not in a position to see that it is going to benefit them.
Yeah.
Because the very nature of the land transaction is delayed, complicated. Delay and complications make them to see that you don't get then you don't get the money so soon, and there is a complication. Looking into all these things, I think the farmers have realized that because they knew what happened. It's not the first time. Giving all these things, they said, farmers said, even now, prana bekadu kottavu bhumi kodala. We are ready to sacrifice land. So under that circumstance, what would happen? The legality is not such a big issue as the notification. But the question here, it is the government is too is. I think there is an element of sympathy for the government also, because it's a question of the industrial development. On one hand, to come out of this crisis amicably, to see that every side is happy to the extent possible, and keeping this as an excellent opportunity for the government of Karnataka to come out with a comprehensive land acquisition policy without hurting the interest of the farmers, without getting into the conflict. In the meantime, see that you will also not lose an opportunity to the development. One core stakeholder is missing in every dialogue and discourse. That is the industry. Government is not acquiring the land for the industry, for themselves. It is for the industry. They are different. So I think the industry should not keep silent. We have given an open appeal to the industry, signed by hundreds of academies. See that it's a time for you to break silence. See, it's in your name. It is all this happening. Why cannot Naranamurthy Ajim take a lead, because they are here? But since they are telling, we are producing and this part of the village and the area provides nearly 60 to, as far as my calculation, 60 to 70% of the vegetable, fruit, milk, flour coming from them for Bengaloreans. We are all Bengalurians. Immediately I urge for the industry to get into the picture, go to the village and say that what would happen, try to understand them, listen to them, let them express their willingness. We are also will the party to resolve this one. I think that is the one way. That's an excellent way in my opinion.
ನಂದು 6 ಎಕರೆ ಜಮೀನು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. 3.5 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಹೋರಾಟ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ನಾವು ಈಗ 6.5 ಎಕರೆ ಜಮೀನಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಗಿ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ನಾವು ಸೀಬೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ವಿ. ಕೊರೋನಾ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ 6.5 ಎಕರೆಗೂ ಸೀಬೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ವಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚೆ ಕಡೆ ಪಾರ್ಸಲ್ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಸೀಬೆ ತೆಗೆದ್ವಿ. ಸೀಬೆ ತೆಗೆದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಗಿ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ನಾವು ಈಗ ತೋಟಗಾರಿಕೆ ಬೆಳಿಬೇಕಂತ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಮಾಡಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕರೆಂಟ್ ತೊಗೊಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಮೈನ್ ನಮಗೆ NOC ಬೇಕು. NOC ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ? ನಿಮ್ಮದು 6.5 ಎಕರೆ KIADB ವಶ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನಾವು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯ ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾವು 3-4 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಕೂಡ ಬರೀ ರಾಗಿ ಬೆಳೆ ಬೆಳ್ಕೊಂಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಹೊರತು ಯಾವುದು ಬೋರ್ ಹಾಕ್ಸಿ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಣ ಬೇಸಾಯ ನೀರಾವರಿ ಯಾವುದು ನಾಲೆ ಗೀಲೆ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಜೀವನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
Sir, thank you for bringing up that letter. In fact, as part of that open letter, you had also said that, in the letter that you addressed to industry and tech leaders, where you said the major contention is that, one of the major contentions is that fertile, arable farmlands are being taken from farmers for big industries, like you correctly pointed out. But how do we address this particular question of acquiring fertile farmland for non-agricultural purposes, specifically when the state of Karnataka has been gripped by agrarian crisis?
This is a small error deliberately made it's a convenient error. It has been made in the whole process of the land acquisition. So land acquisition is not, especially for non-agricultural purposes, is not at all blind to see that the issue of the fertile land acquisition should not be getting. What happened as far as the various acts, you take the 2013 Land Acquisition Act, see that you should not get into the fertile land which produces. So how do you define the fertility? One precondition to define the fertility is the land's association with the irrigation. Here, irrigation means only command irrigation is defined. That means, if there is a command irrigation, there is a restriction to acquire land, because you have the assured irrigation, land is fertile. But here, deliberately, because of the convenient, I can say that just to see that, acquisition could take place in a rampant way in and around Bengaluru. The borewell irrigation, in my knowledge, borewell irrigation is excluded under the definition of irrigation. So all land in and around definition comes under the purview of the dry land. It is not the fertile. If there is a definition of if more than 2 crops in a year, then that should be excluded. Here not 2 crops. I think some vegetables are going, 3 crops are going,
Multiple
So why
crops
cannot
are being grown.
open your eyes, see that?
So, but this change has to be done in the act. It has to be.
It's modified. You bring the borewell irrigation also under the purview of irrigation and see that
Hmm.
fertile land which produces 1 or 2 crops
Correct.
should not be diverted for the. I think it's a common system we have with it's hard and food security, madam. It's not only food security question; it's a nutrition security. Let them ask whether it's a fertile land or not. No one is addressing this. Oh, it is not. They can only say it is not under the command irrigation. No, it is a borewell irrigation. It is a fertile land. It produces. So your definition is very clear, but definition is deliberately sidelined to see that your acquisition process will go without unhindered. There is a larger issue of the land requirement for the industrial operation, industrial purpose. The KIADB acquires the land for the industrial purpose. It acquires in thousands and thousands of acres. Each project comes out with 1,000 acres of requirement. It's a time. Any land use program and policy for the industrial purpose should make it very clear. What is the volume of transaction each industry would be making? How much of the building area it requires? What is the most crucial to convince the societies? What is the employment generation capability vis-a-vis their land requirement?
Okay.
You come out with a project, say we need 1,000 acres. Why the 1,000 acres need? What is the built-up area? All these issues should be made very clear in the land. In that case, if you are convinced, okay, this industry is coming out of this much of the business activity, its production is this much, it needs so much of the land for the building and other purposes, godown and other purposes, and it generates so much of employment, and it's a convincing. There is no, absolutely, there is no any transparency, no idea about, only thing we come, any project is 1,000 acres, 100 acres. I think it should be made very clear, any land requirement. I think we should have some element of a policy dimension also to see that we should be very clear in any industrial activity. KIADB should be much more transparent, open in this regard.
In this Devanahalli case, farmers are protesting vigorously. But in other areas, farmers have protested and later it was sidelined and the government went ahead. If you take any examples, like industries and projects which came up on their lands have done well. At the same time, farmers have lost their livelihood in most of the areas. So it clearly, don't you think, that calls for some kind of a policy which takes care of both industrialization and agriculture, go hand in hand, and also the farmers' interests are protected. Especially, from the, what I want to know from you as an agricultural economist is there any way how a government can help farmers who lose their land to ensure that they get some kind of a regular income? It could be in the form of pension, monthly pension, yearly pension, or some kind of, stake or shares from the industries that come up on their land. What do you think in this regard, sir?
No, the 2013 Fair Compensation Land Acquisition Resettlement Act introduced during the UPA government and very skillfully sidelined, ridiculed, made it defunct by all the government, all the state government, as well as other government after the UPA NDA. I think it's the time to wake up and see. One or two good items of that. There should be a thorough environmental assessment and social impact assessments are there. That's obvious for any natural resources. What would happen? You have mentioned in the cultural alienation part to see that the farmers should not be displaced. What for them? Industry need, I think industrialization need. We need the land. Number two, what would happen to the environmental impact assessment? What is the carrying capacity of the Bengaluru in terms of the congestion, in terms of the climate change, in terms of the vehicular the impact on these things? Do you need the industry in that area? All these should be taken. This is a soft approach because environmental assessment, social impact assessment, it could have its own, but you should come back to that one. But with regard to the farmer, there are various forms of the compensating the farmers without alienating them. So one way is to see that you develop. I think some portion of the land is retained by the farmers in various forms. It's converted into the developmental one. You will have the stakeholders, and if you are coming out to the industry, I think some employment guarantee is given. If the land is not used for quite a long time, then compound. If it's used for some other purpose, you take it for the industry, they'll come out with the apartments. Okay, then and farmers have the claim to come out. You have acquired our land for some other purpose. Now it's for defense purpose. What's the guarantee to it? So in all the safeguards are there to see that farmers are also a bit satisfied. Unfortunately, that land issue falls more with this state rather than the state. So I'm telling once again, it is a time for the industry to come into the picture. The root cause of the corruption in the modern India is the first and foremost the land transition. Everybody knew that one. Everything is happening in the name of the industry. They cannot keep quiet. It is a time to come out. It is a time for Siddaramaiah come out with a model act. How best the land acquisition policy can be resolved, taking into the everybody into the confidence.
Sir, another thing is, it has got nothing to do with land acquisition. Whenever we go to rural areas to do agricultural stories, one thing striking is that paradox. Okay, there are farmers who sit on like 5 to 10 crores worth of land, but they absolutely live in poverty. Some people who want to come out of such a situation, they get into this trap and they sell their entire land and again they go back to poverty. But is there any way out? Can the banks take their total net worth into consideration while lending? Because whenever the banks lend, normally there is an allegation that they don't take the entire market value into consideration. So is there any way how farmers can take into consideration their land's full worth and how they can proceed in terms of economic transactions?
Average value of land in Karnataka, it's a rough estimation, is 30 lakh rupees per acre. Average holding also comes to 1 to 1.5 acre. I can say that each farmer in Karnataka is worth by asset nearly 50 lakh rupees. But if you just take into the return from that land, I think majority of the farmers are below poverty line. We only work it out. So it's a strange paradox. We have not addressed. Good thing you have raised that issue. Every farmer, I with utmost seriousness, I can make a statement. Every farmer is rich by asset, poor by income. There is what is called as the asset turnover ratio. What is it in the business circle? If you have the 100 crores of asset means building, capital, machinery, equipment, asset worth, fixed and movable asset. Then that asset should not be get wasted. It should be turned over. It should coming out in terms of the return not less than the bank interest rate. That means the bank interest is 10%. 100 crore rupees worth of asset should yield a return of minimum of 10 crore rupees every year. It's called an optimum asset turnover ratio. Here, 50 lakh rupees should come out with a 5 lakh rupees. No man, 5,000 rupees. So poor asset turnover ratio, you should ask for the financial sector. One way you said, good thing you have raised this one. Bank or any financial institution should seriously consider, I can say, should seriously consider to provide the assistance, financial assistance, credit, loan, whatever you call, not only based on what you grow, based on how much asset value worth of you are having. For example, whatever purpose it may be. Now you can say if you go to the bank, what is the land where you have? 1 acre. What you will go? I can grow 10 quintals of ragi. Then 10 quintal of ragi into its value is 5,000. I can give only 2,000. Only crop loan based on that. Instead, they can ask, no, I have the 1 acres of land. Its value is the 10 lakh rupees, 20 lakh rupees. Give 5 lakh rupees to do whatever I want to do. I want my son to be educated in a technical college. I want to start a small shop in my home. I can get into the agro-based industries. Irrespective of the crop value, you have to consider to give the financial assistance to the productive, because bank won't give loan credit so easily unless they are convinced of the project. They can consider every project. Every farmer having the land worth of 30 to 40 lakh rupees is very easy something. At any stage of imagine, it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. Only thing that goodness, the opportunities converted into something which you have the tangible benefit. I think you have pointed out.
To get an educational loan also, it's very easy if you have a site in any urban area, including Bengaluru. But if it is land, they think twice. While
They never give.
Yeah,
There is no.
So the farmer in the process is forced to sell off part of his land. That's the problem.
Why should sell? At the end, you will have. You will have the option that I don't say you to sell. Don't sell it land. You should not be forced selling.
Yes.
That's what the question is happening. If they say, and it's a collective, it's the enforcement on the villages to see that you should get out. Forcible acquiring land. Forcible acquiring not only a single farmer's land, a land belong to the 13 villages. Collective acquiring, forcible. That's the problem here.
Like you said, I think this is not just a two-way discussion between farmers and the government. It's we need political will, industrial engagement, like you said, and financial sector to come in for a holistic answer, even at a policy level, to the issue we are saying, and not just for this particular fight, but I think older struggles that have been waged and possibly future struggles that may also crop up. And I hope we will get to see that possibly on July 15th. Well, that's the hope.
Let us hope that.
ಅವರು 5 ಕೋಟಿ ಎಲ್ಲ 10 ಕೋಟಿ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇಡ, ನಮ್ ಜಮೀನ್ ಬೇಕು. ನಾವೇನ್ ನಾವು ದುಡ್ಡು ತಿನ್ನೋದು ಏನ್, ಮಕ್ಳು ಮರಿ ಏನ್ ತಿನ್ನೋದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗವ ನಾವು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್
ಬರ್ತದ, ತೋಟ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಯಾಕೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕು ನಾವು? ನಮ್ಮ ಭೂಮಿನೇ
ನಮ್ದೇ ತಪ್ಪು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ನೋಡಿ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಬಂದವ, ನಾವು ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ.
Will the next meeting with CM Siddaramaiah on July 15th bring relief to the aggrieved farmers? Will the government heed their demand and denotify their lands entirely? Anything less will only lead to a more intensified struggle, this time with the support of national leaders, say farmers. We will continue to track all the developments related to this issue, and I'll see you in the next episode of Decode Karnataka. Until then, follow The Hindu for more such stories and videos.